Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel. Um, what am I going to discuss today? So today, what I want to talk about is what Anna Slot is trying to build at Liverpool, and what I think we should all expect next season, and even the season after that. I think there is something really extraordinary going on with Liverpool right now. You can see how Anna Slot is trying to build his own squad. At the beginning of last season, people, pundits, rival fans, people who want to talk negative about Liverpool were coming up with all sort of excuses for why Anna Slot winning the Premier League in his first season isn't necessarily something that we should be surprised about. Of course, in the beginning, they predicted that he was going to fail. And when he proved them wrong, they tried to find reasons to explain why he was able to prove them wrong. And one of the main reasons was that this isn't his squad. The squad was built by Klopp, and it was a good squad that he came to meet. So that necessarily presupposes that if he were to build his own squad, then that is where we can really assess him. So next season, we can really assess Klopp, Slot. And the season after that is when we are actually going really assessing, because there's going to be a lot of turnover by then. A lot of the players that Klopp brought in would have left, and Anna Slot would have brought in some new players of his own. So maybe at that time we'll be able to analyze him even much better. But I wouldn't wait for that time to come before I assess him, because I know that this guy is a good coach. He's just a good coach. He backs himself to coach. He doesn't need everything to work perfectly for him before he does something special with a team. He has that track record with Feyenoord. He proved time and over again that he's a special coach. Now, the other thing that I want to touch on is that he's a kind of coach who always kicks on in his second and third seasons. So his first season is good. His second season, even better. His third season, much better. So my expectation going into next season, in spite of the changes that we expect, the changes that we've already seen with 3 players coming in, Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, and Milos Kerkez. Even if we experience much more turnover in the team in the form of outgoings and also incomings, I don't think there should be any panic, because I think in his second season at Feyenoord, he lost 16 players and brought in maybe about 13 or 14 players, and Feyenoord still played even much better in his second season. So I wouldn't have any issues with the amount of turnover that occurs in the club. It is all good turnover. I think it is always going to be a good turnover if it has to be, because unlike Klopp, maybe this is something that a lot of people are not really talking about, because we revere Klopp so much. So we don't want to sound like we are trying to criticize Klopp. It is not a criticism at all. It is actually, what I'm about to say is what actually brought Klopp success at Liverpool. But at times I would say that it is the same thing that didn't allow us to cross or get over the line as often as we should have or we would have wanted to. And that thing is loyalty. So I think Klopp was much more loyal to some of his boys, some of the players that he considered they were his boys. They were more or less, it was more or less a relationship, like a father and son relationship, where nothing could happen that could break the love between the two of them. So at times, even when he saw that people were not putting in as much effort as they should. And here I'm referring to people like Trent, maybe Salah at times, where you could see that they could have done more. Klopp was a bit hesitant to point that out and to be direct with them behind closed doors and also in public. So rarely did we see Klopp even talk about players' attitude in press conferences. But Slot is different. I think now the culture in and around the training camp or the place, from outside looking in, what I see is that he's very blunt with them behind closed doors and also in public. And the players are aware of this. They know that if they don't put in their best each and every single training session, each and every single match day, Slot is going to call them out. If not in public, it's going to be on a one-on-one basis. He will call you out, and he's going to do that respectfully, but it's going to happen, and you are going to feel the firmness in what he expects from you, or the firmness in his disappointment in maybe the lack of effort. So the players are all aware of this. They know the standards are very, very high, and it has to be maintained at that high level for every single period. And so I think that has resulted in some sort of, what do I call it, uneasiness among each and every single player. So even if you are a starter and you play on a regular basis, you know that you are supposed to bring your A game at every single training session and during every single game week. Because if you don't, you could lose your position. It is very, very clear to the players. They know this. It is no secret. And if you are on the bench and you are not playing, you know the reason why you are not playing, because Slot would have been blunt with you on why you are not playing and what you probably could do to get playing time. I'll use a player like Harvey Elliott as an example. I think this season he's been rightly frustrated with the lack of game time that he's gotten in the team. And towards the end of the season, or at the end of the season, he made an interview where he mentioned that his career is only once. It is a short career and he would like to play more. And I think he said that out of his observation as well as his experience with Slot, looking at the players that he's competing with in the likes of Soboslai and other guys in the team who offer something more of the ball, right? And not just their in possession attribute. So looking at Harvey Elliott, we all know how good he is on the ball, but without the ball, can he give you the same level of energy, the same level of power that Soboslai gives you? And now with Vet as well, is he going to be able to match those levels week in, week out, every 3 days, in case we have the Champions League also alongside the Premier League games? So I think he himself, Harvey Elliott, has realized that in this team, unlike the Klopp era, where I think an important thing that also needs to be mentioned is that for Klopp, he preferred to be the underdog. He preferred the tag of an underdog so that he could sort of galvanize his team to do better than against the odds, right? So Liverpool were always having their backs against the wall and trying to fight back. And that is how he got his players motivated. I think he needed that always in order to give his players motivation. But I think Slot is a bit different. Actually, he's the opposite of that. He wants the tag of being the big fish, being the favorite, and delivering on that tag. That is what Slot wants. He wants his team to be recognized as the best team in the country. And not just that, after that recognition, he wants to deliver on that he wants to fulfill that expectation that he himself, he knows that he wants to put on the players that they are the best. And on the field, they need to show it week in, week out. They need to show it day in, day out in training. So that is the difference. And I think this difference that I'm talking about regarding Klopp almost craving the underdog title or the underdog tag and Slot wanting to be recognized as the best team is the reason why we are seeing the type of signings that we are seeing this summer. So we are going out there and splashing the cash on the very best players around. And that is because Slot wants to build a team that even before we step on the field to play, opponents are almost defeated in their minds, even before the game starts. That is what he wants to build. But Klopp, on the other hand, because he wanted that underdog tag, almost, he was much more opposed, I would say, to splashing the cash and bringing in the big money signings. And so I think the signings that we are going to see in Liverpool moving forward, and even the squad list that we are going to see, would have less players from the academy being promoted to the senior team, unless, of course, there is an academy player who has shown exceptional talent right from the off. Something of the likes of Steven Gerrard or Michael Owen coming up. Unless you are at that level, it is going to be very difficult for Slot to put you in the team. Unless, of course, he wants to heavily rotate. So I think what we've seen and we've been used to as Liverpool fans over the years under Klopp, where we see a lot of young players coming through the ranks and playing games after game. Someone like even Curtis Jones becoming a starter in the Liverpool squad. At some point, we saw Harvey Elliott being a starter. We started the season, played about 10 games with Harvey Elliott starting each and every game. And even the scenario we got under 2 seasons ago when we played the Carabao Cup final against Chelsea, where we had kids playing the games. I think it's going to be very difficult for us to have such a situation again, because Slot is different. I think he is more obsessed with winning. I'm not saying Klopp wasn't a winner. Don't get me wrong. Klopp is as much a winner as Slot, but I think the way in which each of these coaches pursue winning is different. And I think that difference is in the fact that Klopp was willing to give the young players much more playing time, much more opportunity. He actually wanted to give them the opportunity to shine so that he would also shine, because it would almost always be like, this is the coach who uses unknown players to achieve big results, right? So that was what I think Klopp set out to do throughout his career. He uses unknown players and he's able to use them to get big results. He turns average players into world superstars. He turns even below average players into world-class players. So that is the difference. But with Slot, I think he wants to go for the creme de la creme, and he wants to win on a consistent basis. One thing that I always feel sad about a little bit, I can't be sad about the way Liverpool have performed over the past 6, 7, 8 years. But when I reflect back on the time that Klopp spent with Liverpool, I think my only regret is that we didn't get over the line as many times as we would have wanted, right? But I think that is also because of the way Klopp is, the way he is with his players. He allows them to make mistakes. He's almost one person who would gloss over your mistakes as long as he knows that you can produce something special, right? at one point in time or another. But Slot is a bit different. I think Slot is so obsessed with ensuring that his team is perfect and they are always at their A game. So he's always going to hammer the negatives. We saw that last season. Even when we had won games, Slot would come out and pick out the parts in the game where we didn't do well. He was always on the fact that we need to improve on certain things. Slot stays the same amount of years that Klopp did with the same amount of resources. I think he would be able to get over the line even more than Klopp did. So that is what we are going to see next season. Liverpool is going to be very, very strong. And even if Liverpool doesn't win the league, I think it is going to be an exciting season. I do expect that Liverpool will challenge for the Premier League, challenge for both domestic cups, FA Cup and Carabao Cup, as well as the Champions League. And this time I expect that Liverpool would get to the latter stages of the Champions League, semi-final, final. One of them is what I expect from this team. So let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you.